Alright. Lesson 46, Israel's war with Benhadad. So Elijah got it to rain. The rains came. And now we wanted to see what would happen with Elijah. He wasn't feeling very encouraged. He felt he was the only one in Israel left. He felt his work was worthless. It wasn't doing anything. He wanted to quit. We said we must never quit. So the Lord encouraged him. He sent those earthquakes and the fire. He sent all of the storms so that he had to realize, Elijah, I don't always come in these big, showy things, because God came to Elijah in a small, quiet voice in the wind. All right, chapter 19, though, tells us a little bit more about a few things. Okay? First of all, there were a certain number of worshipers still left who were God's people. Okay? There were a certain number who had not bowed the knee to Baal. Okay? And that number was 7,000. There were still 7,000 worshipers of God left in Israel who had not bowed the knee to Baal. Okay? And that was important. That was important. Now, what is that number? What numbers do we see? Well, we know 7 times 1,000. Those are important things. 7 is the number of the covenant. So we see that number in there. Okay? So, those are some important numbers in there. But that shows, Elijah, you are not alone. Yes, God's elect people left in Israel are a small amount. They're outnumbered greatly. But it will be okay. So let's see what happens here. Verse 15 is where we want to pick up with chapter 19. The Lord said to him, meaning Elijah, Go, return on the way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when thou comest, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. So anoint one guy. And Jehu the son of Nimshi shalt thou anoint to be king over Israel. He'll be the next king after Ahab. And Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abimeloha shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. So another prophet, Elisha. And it shall come to pass that him that escapeth the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay, and him that escapeth from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which hath not kissed. So 3 men go and anoint Hazael. Now that's kind of odd because he's a king of an ungodly country, Syria. But that's because God has a plan. God is going to use Hazael to accomplish a task. Elijah needs to also go and anoint Jehu to be the next king, but that will be done obviously secretly. And also go to Elisha. Elisha will follow in your footsteps after you as the prophet. Okay? So all of those things there happened. Verse 19 continues on and tells a little bit more about Elisha. So he departed thence and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. And Elijah passed by him and cast his mantle, that would be his coat, upon him. He threw his coat onto this boy out in the field plowing, named Elisha. And he left the oxen and ran after Elijah and said, Let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee. And he said unto him, Go back again, for what have I done to thee? And he returned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slew them and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen and gave unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose and went after Elijah and ministered unto him. Okay? So Elisha has a farewell meal. He's out plowing in the field. Obviously Elijah came by, put his coat on him. That was a symbol. He said, I'm going to go say goodbye to my parents. And he quickly boils up one of the oxen that was pulling it for a meal. Okay? All right, continuing on in chapter 20, though. We need to meet the king of Syria, which at this time is Benhadad, even though Elijah is going to be anointing the next king of Syria, Hazael. And Benhadad, the king of Syria, gathered all his hosts together, and there were 32 kings with him, and horses and chariots, and he went up and besieged Samaria, and warred against it. So he went to Samaria, the capital of Israel. And he sent messengers to Ahab, king of Israel, into the city, and said unto him, Thus saith Benhadad, The silver and thy gold is mine, thy wives also and thy children, even the goodliest are mine. And the kings of Israel answered and said, My lord, O king, according to thy saying, I am thine and all that I have. And the messengers came again and said, Thus speaketh Benhadad, saying, Although I have sent unto thee, saying, Thou shalt deliver me the silver and gold, and the wives and thy children, yet I will send my servants unto thee tomorrow about this time, and they shall search thine house and the house of thy servants, and it shall be that whatsoever is pleasant in thine eyes, they shall put it in their hand and take it away. Then the king of Israel called all the elders of the land and said, Mark, I pray you, and see how this man seeketh mischief. For he sent unto me for my wives, and for my children, and for my silver, and for my gold, and I denied him not. And all the elders and all the people said unto him, Hearken not unto him, nor consent. Wherefore he said unto the messengers of Benhadad, Tell my lord the king, all that thou didst send for to thy servant at the first I will do. But this thing I may not do. And the messengers departed, and brought him word again. And Benhadad sent to him and said, The gods do so unto me, and more also, if the dust of Samaria shall suffice for handfuls for all the people that follow me. And the king of Israel answered and said, Tell him, let not him that girdeth on this harness boast himself as he putteth it off. And it came to pass, when Benhadad heard this message as he was drinking, and he and the kings of the pavilions, that he said to the servants, Set yourselves in array. And they set themselves in array against the city. So who comes? This Benhadad. He comes to the city of Samaria with his chariots and his horses and all the other kings of the surrounding area, and they surround Samaria. Okay? They besieged it so that no one could come in and no one could come out. A siege is not a fun thing. You can't go and get fresh water from any of the wells. You can't get the food outside the city. You're away from your oxen, your herds. It's a miserable thing. You're afraid for your life. The enemy is just going to sit around you until you run out of food and water and everything else, and you have to give up. Okay? So, to try to hasten this, to try to get things over with a little bit more, Benhadad sent some messengers to King Ahab and said, Look, if you want to get this done and over with quickly, give me your silver and your gold and your best wives and all of your children. At first, Ahab agreed. He said, Oh, all right. You'll go away if I give you all that, because he just said, well, I'll just get more of it later. So it sounds like it's a pretty good deal to him. I'll make that deal. Okay? Now, if I give him that, he'll leave me alone. He'll leave me alone. He'll end the siege. He'll go away. It will buy me some peace. I might be his servant. Right? I got to do what he says. But at least I've got peace, and he's leaving me alone. I've got my life, and I've got my city. Okay? So King Ahab agreed to these terms. But then later on, in the next verse, the real truth comes out. What does Benhadad really want? Well, he doesn't want just those things. He wants to enter the city and not just take the gold and the silver and Ahab's wives and his children, but anything that looks good to him. Oh, weapons, I'll take some of those. Nice food, I'll take some of that. Look at these beautiful carts and chariots, I'll take some of those. Thank you very much. He's going to take whatever he wants. He's going to plunder it. And so King Ahab consults with the elders and says, What should we do? How are we going to handle this situation? Okay? And in the end, he said, Look, I'll agree to your first demand, but I can't agree to allow the second demand to happen, that you can have whatever you want. Well, to Benhadad, that meant no answer. Okay? So he tried to frighten them, tells them, You know what? When I get finished with this city, there's going to be hardly even a handful of dust left. When everything here is burned and crushed, all you'll come by is you can scoop up a handful of dust, and that's all that's going to be left of Samaria when we get done with it. Where was Benhadad? Benhadad was outside the city in one of his tents, along with probably many of his other friends and generals. And what were they doing? Getting drunk. They were drinking, having a good old time, because they were already celebrating the victory. They knew they would have it. Samaria is besieged, and King Ahab will give in to them. Well, that's not how things turn out. Verse 13, let's see what happens. And behold, there came a prophet unto Ahab, king of Israel, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Hast thou seen all this great multitude? Behold, I will deliver it into thine hand this day, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. That seems a bit confusing here a little bit, because here's Ahab, the absolute most wicked king. And yet, he's going to win the battle? Why? Because God has some of his people left in Israel, and God will not allow his people to be destroyed in this way. So God is going to give the victory to Ahab, he promises in there. And Ahab said, by whom? And he said, thus saith the Lord, even by the young men of the princes of the provinces. Then he said, who shall order the battle? And he answered, thou. So it kind of sounds, too, a little bit how Ahab sometimes is a pushover to his wife Jezebel, and here he's afraid. He's not necessarily a very strong man. Okay? All right, well, let's go on here. And they numbered the young men of the princes of the provinces, and there were 232, and after them he numbered all the people, even all the children of Israel, being 7,000. And they went out at noon. But Benhadad was drinking himself drunk in the pavilions, he and the kings, and 32 kings that helped him. And the young men of the princes of the provinces went out first, and Benhadad sent out and told him, and they told him, saying, there are men come out of Samaria. And he said, whether they come for peace, take them alive, or whether they come out for war, take them alive. So these young men of the princes of the provinces came out of the city, and the army followed them. And they slew every one his man, and the Syrians fled, and Israel pursued them. And Benhadad the king of Syria escaped on a horse with the horsemen. And the king of Israel went out and smote the horses and chariots, and slew the Syrians with a great slaughter. So the Lord was on the side of Ahab and Israel. They go out, Benhadad and his drunkenness and his other good leaders, they don't have a clue what they're doing. And they begin to be killed, slaughtered by the Israelites, and they have to flee. They have to run away to get away. Okay? So that's the first battle. Okay? They lose. Well, there's another battle that continues on in verse 22. And the prophet came to the king of Israel and said unto him, go, strengthen thyself, and mark, and see what thou doest. For at the return of the year, so in other words, in another year, the king of Syria will come up against thee. And the servants of the king of Syria said unto him, their gods are gods of the hills, therefore they were stronger than we. But let us fight against them in the plain. Surely we shall be stronger than they. And do this thing, take the kings away, every man out of his place, and put captains in their rooms. And number thee an army, like the army that thou hast lost, horse for horse, chariot for chariot, and we will fight against them in the plain. And surely we will be stronger than they. And he hearkened unto their voice, and did so. So these men who are giving advice to King Benhadad say, look, King Benhadad, the reason that you lost, well, it's a bit tricky, but you see their gods are gods of the hills. Their gods like to live. That's why they always offer sacrifices on top of the hills. Here's how we'll beat them. We'll drag them down into a valley. And there they'll be far from their gods, and their gods won't be able to help them, and then we will defeat them, King Benhadad. That's how we need to do it. We need to draw them into the valleys, and we'll defeat them there. Okay? Well, we know that's not true. We know that the Lord is on their side, and the Lord is the God of everything, and he is everywhere. He's omnipresent. Okay? So, what happens a year later? Verse 26, and it came to pass at the return of the year, so a year later, that Benhadad numbered the Syrians and went up to Aphek to fight against Israel. And the children of Israel were numbered, and were all present, and went against them. And the children of Israel pitched before them like two little flocks of kids, but the Syrians filled the country. So the Syrians are massive in number. The Israelites are small in number. Verse 28. And there came a man of God, and spake unto the king of Israel, and thus said, thus saith the Lord, because the Syrians have said, the Lord is God of the hills, but is not of the valleys, therefore will I deliver all this great multitude into thine hand, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. And they pitched one over against the other 7 days, and so it was that in the 7th day the battle was joined, and the children of Israel slew the Syrians 100,000 footmen in 1 day. But the rest fled to Aphek into the city, and there a wall fell upon 27,000 of the men that were left, and Benhadad fled and came into the city, into an inner chamber. So the second battle happens, and again the Lord sends a man to come tell Ahab, Ahab, you will have the victory. They think that they're going to win because they're getting you into the valley, because you don't have a God in the valley, you only have a God in the hills, and that was wrong. And lo and behold, after 7 days of camping there, then the battle begins, and yes, the Israelites begin to win. They slaughter 100,000 Syrians in just 1 day. And then the rest of them that are still alive, or a great portion of them that are alive, flee into a city, and the Lord causes the walls of that city to collapse and kill 27,000 of the men. And Benhadad, though, where is he? Well, he is able to get away. He flees into a city, into an inner chamber. Okay? Well, what's the result of that? And his servants, so that's Benhadad, said unto him, behold, now we have heard that the kings of the house of Israel are merciful kings. In other words, they're merciful. They'll hear you out. Let us, I pray thee, put sackcloth on our loins and ropes upon our heads, and go out to the kings of Israel. Peradventure he will save thy life. So they girded sackcloth on their loins and put ropes on their heads, and came to the king of Israel and said, Thy servant Benhadad saith, I pray thee, let me live. And he said, Is he yet alive? He is my brother. Now the men did diligently observe whether anything would come from him, and did hastily catch it. And they said, Thy brother Benhadad. Then he said, Go ye, bring him. Then Benhadad came forth to him, and he caused him to come up into the chariot. And Benhadad said unto him, The cities which my father took from thy father I will restore, and thou shalt make streets for thee in Damascus, as my father made in Samaria. Then said Ahab, I will send thee away with this covenant. So he made a covenant with him, and sent him away. So what happens in the end? Benhadad's men are wise. They say, look, the kings of Israel are known to be merciful kings. They won't necessarily put you to death. Let's put on our sackcloth and ashes and go out to this king Ahab. And they did. And let's ask him for mercy. And then Benhadad did something odd. Ahab. He called him his brother. He flattered him. This is King Benhadad. The great, mighty King Benhadad. Syria is much larger than Israel. So he's flattered to have this respect that now King Benhadad has humbled himself before him. And wow, King, we're like brothers. We're good friends. I'm not going to kill you. And so they made a covenant, an agreement with each other. Benhadad said, I'll restore back to you the cities that my father took from Israel, and I'll return and rebuild the streets of the city of Damascus. Okay? And King Ahab, rather than doing what he ought to have done and putting King Benhadad to death, he lets him go in peace. Ahab here, he also failed to do another thing. That's part of what we see as the sin of pride. And that is, he didn't say, now Benhadad, it wasn't me working these victories, by the way. You think that there's gods of the valleys and gods of the hills. That's not true. There's one true God. He's on my side. And if he wants me to defeat you, I can defeat you without even lifting a finger. But Ahab didn't do that. He took all the credit for himself. He didn't object to this friendship with this ungodly man, King Benhadad. But that's because we know that the heart of Ahab isn't the godly heart anyways. And so he makes a friendly pact here. And that was wrong. That was wrong for him to have done that. That was sin. And it's a good reminder for us too. We need to be careful about who we make friendships with. So we'll see next time as we get, there's still a few more stories that we need to get through with King Ahab, but that's one where we again see how his foolish in his friendships.